I don't know why. Every time we start doing this, I start to cough or clear my throat. Ah,
I think
okay.
it's related to your vagus nerve,
Okay. I have
which I'll talk about
Vegas.
later.
All right, good. And it looks like we're there. Good morning, Sheila. How are you doing today?
Hi, Wayne. I'm doing really well today. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, thank you. And
Good.
golly, it's a nice sunny day today. Ooh, I can't wait.
Yes.
I can't wait till it hits the 80s and 90s.
Well, I'm happy for you.
And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we get to talk about skills and verbs that have been learned, forgotten, misused, and or totally abandoned as we are attempting to change the world one verb at a time. And Sheila, can you tell us what our verb is today?
Today's verb is to feel. To feel, which I have as a definition to be aware of through touching or being touched, to experience an emotion or sensation, to ascertain by cautious trial, like to feel out, or to be aware of by instinct or influence. So,
Ah,
how about
and
yours?
I
Yeah,
have two others because I have all of
super.
those, and I have two others. I
Oh,
have
let's hear 'em.
to handle or touch in order to examine, test,
Okay,
or explore some quality.
okay,
Also, to have a marked sentiment or opinion. Ha.
okay, good.
And I've got to tell you, I struggled a little bit with this word. I was so excited when we selected it last
I
week,
remember, yeah.
pulled it out of the jar. Oh, feel, yeah, this is going to be good. And yeah, the excitement stayed for about a day or two, and I kept looking and looking, and
Oh.
I started to feel a little uncomfortable.
Okay. It's good to know how you feel. Yeah. Yeah. It's good to
Yes.
express how you feel in safe ways.
And what did you find interesting about feel?
I got a ton of stuff about feel. So
Oh,
I'll go through that as we go along. But one of the ways I like to start researching a verb is to think about the ways I hear it said in the week that we're thinking about it. And so um, I heard I've heard it used in the following ways: to feel the room. And that's to feel the atmosphere in a room and to be able to figure out what's going on without words. I feel you, which is another way of saying
mm,
um, I'm with you.
yes.
I started learning about highly sensitive people who seem to experience feelings a little more acutely than others. And I feel a cold coming on, but
Ah,
I'm feeling allergies coming on. So those are the ways I've heard it mentioned this week. And so those sent me down a couple of different interesting paths.
okay. And you know what? The first one that you said, talking about
Hmm.
feeling out a room or feeling the
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
I have some things about that as well. And
Okay.
I went down and said, there are many ways to feel, as you just suggested.
Okay.
And I have you can feel emotionally,
Hmm.
physically,
Hmm.
intuitively,
Hmm.
and health wise you can feel.
Yes,
And
certainly
and
can.
and let me start off with one of my questions here. Like
Oh, good.
it's not a trivia question, but it is a question,
Okay.
which we would give the answer at the end of the show this time.
Yay. Okay.
Yay. And
Yeah,
that
sorry, last week I blew it by giving your answers
oh,
ahead
but
of
it was
time.
great. It was great because you knew it. I thought, oh, this is very, very cool.
Popped out. Okay, I've got my hand over my mouth. Go ahead.
So here's the question: is a smile contagious? And
Okay,
we will talk about that at the end of the show.
and I have a trivia question to talk about at the end of the show too.
Oh, do tell.
So, according to the Global Peace Index, which country do people feel the safest walking down the street of their neighborhood at night?
Oh, I have a
Okay.
thought, but I'm
All
not
right.
going to
Well,
say it.
hold that thought till the end. I'll let you guess at the end.
I will hold that thought, but okay, I just wrote it down too.
Okay. Good. Good.
So it's right there. Can you see
I
it?
cannot because we are far away from each other in two
We
different
are.
rooms.
Okay. So looking at the one of the ways of feeling, and I have emotionally,
Yes.
we can all feel joy,
Right.
anger, feel sadness, and feel excitement, such as watching a sporting event, or actually being that person who's in the recital or the
Mhm.
sporting event who's actually playing the piano and gets that round of applause. Have you?
Mhm.
I know you have, but how wonderful does it feel to get a sincere round of applause?
Oh, it feels humbling.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
And exciting at the
And
same time.
exciting. Yes, yes. And that's the kind of feeling that you can kind of put in your mind and review again and again as time goes by. Look back on and refeel.
Yes. I remember I was in a play once, been in many plays, but I was in a play once in, where were we? We were in Germany, I think. Either Germany or Brussels. I don't remember, but it was Brussels. It was Brussels.
Okay.
And I was working with this troupe. And I had a small part, although I was in every scene. I had a small part, a small role. So it was not a mainliner at all, if you will. It wasn't even a supporting mainliner, but the small part that I had, the director had told us it was so important that I do the things that I need to do, and the audience would appreciate it, or possibly could appreciate it. Anyway, at the end of the show, as individuals come out to take their bows,
Hmm.
they had the main character come out by himself, and the main female character came out by herself, and then they had this cascading, events of other individuals coming out. And then when I came out nearing the end, now they were all standing, the crowd was standing, so I didn't get a standing ovation, but I
Mm.
got this upward roar, and it was
Oh.
louder than most of the other ones else. And the director was out there, was on the side going, "Who's out there? Who's out there? Who's getting that response?" And he looked, and it was one of those things where he looked and said, "Oh, it's Wayne. Yeah, of course."
Oh, well,
And,
that's good and also
well, yes, but I felt really good. And again, as you said,
yeah.
I felt humbled.
Mhm.
Um, it was, and see, I'm sitting here now, I'm getting goosebumps right now. So I'm
Oh,
feeling
nice.
that all over again.
Nice.
But it was one of those feelings that you want repeated. You want to feel that again.
Uh-huh.
So you put everything into everything you do. I I,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Well, so that kind of leads directly into the one of the heavier thoughts about to feel that I was reading about this week, and that is, or studying, and that is bringing your full self to your work, for instance. And how much of your emotions do you bring to work? Because I have found in my life that way back early in my corporate life, the suggestions were for women in a particularly male dominated field were, don't bring your emotions, don't talk about your feelings. Um, it's a rational world, and um, you'll get ahead faster if they don't know you can type. Pieces of advice like that.
Yes.
So I started reading about there's a lot in the research these days about being your full authentic self in the workplace. But I thought, well, does everybody need to know about your brother's wife's affair with the guy who's teaching her kid, softball? And
Mm,
so
mm.
maybe there are certain things you don't want to bring fully to the office, especially around strong feelings about things like that. So boundaries versus authenticity,
I
having to do with
understand it.
feelings.
Yes, and it's funny that you say that about
Okay.
women, and I think you're talking about women's intuition. Um,
Ah,
male
yeah, that's
A male dominated world had suppressed that for so long,
right.
and then came along this guy. Now he wasn't the first, but I'm sure there was many others. But then came along this guy called Edward de Bono. Have you ever heard of Edward de Bono?
I have not.
He wrote a book called, he also had this model, if you will. It's called
Hmm.
The Six Thinking Hats.
Oh, okay.
And the Six Thinking Hats, I won't go into a litany here of what that is, but
Hmm.
what the Six Thinking Hats said or suggested was that you can put your feelings in front of the processes, the things that's going on, and it was okay. And what he did was these six thinking hats, there's a red hat, a white hat, a blue hat, a black hat, a green hat, and a yellow hat. And in those, it's role playing, and what he would
Mm-hmm.
do is, and I've done this myself, taking part and using and giving him the credit, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
taking part in a kind of like a leading a group to through a
Okay.
discussion or through a
Mm-hmm.
problem solving thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I had all these wool hats, and they were the bright colors. So I would throw the white hat or the black hat or the blue hat to someone and say, "Okay, now you have the white hat, and the white hat. This is the information that a white hat has. This is the
Mm-hmm.
information that a black hat has. Think this way," and it gave people permission to act outside of themselves,
Okay.
and that's what women do all the time, and they do it very well, particularly with women's intuition and intonations there, and it works very, very well. But not Peter, Edward de Bono kind of started that in a wave where it
Mm-hmm.
says it's okay, executives, the CEO,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to step outside of your comfort zone and use your gut and say,
Mm.
because the red hat says it's a warm feeling, it's a gut feel. Do you think this will work? How do you feel that this will react, or how do you feel that people will react to this process? It was very cool. I found it very interesting. So funny you said that.
I was just before we got on the line, I was doing some more reading because I got down another rabbit trail about you talked about gut feelings, and while you were referencing intuition, the other side of gut feelings is that literally what's happening in the gut affects your mind and emotions. Now, neuroscientists are finding, and there's a vagus nerve which they've only recently been talking about and researching, and the inflammation in the vagus nerve, which connects the gut with the brain, affects areas in the brain that control mood. So gut feelings really do have a physical, literal um, um, meaning and dynamic in
Excellent.
your body and your feelings.
Very cool.
It is
I,
cool.
I like doing this because I learn a lot from you and from me doing our
Yeah,
research.
I
This
do
is really
too.
cool.
Yeah.
And I like this because in our intro we say skills and verbs now that have been learned, forgotten, and or
Hmm.
totally misused or
Hmm.
abused. So it's really cool to understand how this is going, and hey, it's elevating my vocabulary. How about that?
That's great.
I like it.
Mine too. Mine too.
Yeah.
Hey, I
So,
have some quotes about to
oh,
feel.
great quotes. Yes, let's hear quotes.
Oh, they're two of my favorites. One, I think a lot of people have heard, and it's been attributed to many people, this time Abraham Lincoln, but I think others have said it as well and claimed credit for it. A person will be just about as happy as they make up their mind to be.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And then here's Pearl S. Buck, who said, "You cannot make yourself feel something you do not feel, but you can make yourself do right in spite of your feelings."
Mm.
So
Okay.
sometimes, for instance, sometimes my husband and I say when it comes to marriage, sometimes love is a decision and not a feeling. And the feelings return when you make the right decisions.
Ah. Okay. Huh.
I hope I haven't said too much about our marriage. We love each other very much. One more
and Z-
quote from
and
Helen Keller. Oh, I'm
Zeke
sorry,
is
go
right there.
ahead.
Zeke is right there in the middle of that too,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
he's all about feelings. So Zeke, by the way, is my dog. If you haven't heard me talk about him before, this is your first time on our podcast.
That's right. So getting to Helen Keller.
Helen Keller, who was deaf and blind, said the best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen nor even touched. They must be felt with the heart.
Ooh.
So that's going down
Wow.
another deep path,
It is.
and go ahead. You're about to say something about that.
I was just going to say, how do you touch it with your heart? That's I think I understand that,
Hmm.
but if you're deaf and blind,
I know. How do you know that it has to be felt by the heart? How do you know that you're talking about seeing and
I
hearing? Yeah.
yeah, that's I guess that's that inner you, and that's the thing that's we all hold most sacred because we need that heart to go. But
Hmm.
it's almost like it. I think it. Okay, I'm just making a stretch here.
Okay.
I'm looking at a correlation between we just talked about the gut feel.
Hmm.
This is the heart feel,
Ah, okay.
and there's two different feelings with that, right?
Yes.
because the heart, we think of heart as love and embracing and emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and gut, we think of stress or a
Mm.
right or wrong thought process. This feels wrong, this feels right.
Ah.
Wow. Okay, but I'm not a psychologist. Anyone? No, 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 no. I'm not.
No.
So I'm not going down there. I'm
But
just
if any
thinking out loud.
psychologists are listening, and you can maybe, borrow that idea in your next research, right?
Or email me and tell
How
me
do they
how
email you,
how
Wayne?
wrong I was.
How can people reach you?
You can reach me at www.mindsyncing.com. That's MINDSYNCING.com. Email Wayne@mindsyncing.com. And Sheila, how about you?
Well, my email is still under
It's still under
construction.
construction.
I
Oh
know
no.
it, I know it. But my website is zekeandsheila.com. And so you can at least look at my dog there. Not me, not just my dog.
Okay.
That needs help too. That's next week's problem.
Okay. Now
So
before I interrupted you, you were going to say something, and I heard you just say so. So
I was going to
to
talk about
you
to feel. I was talking about to feel.
to
Do
feel.
you know that redheaded people, who encompass about 1 to 2% of the population, feel pain differently?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is a gene. It's genetic. It's the MC1R gene that actually controls pigment, though therefore it's connected to the red hair and sometimes freckles. And the outcome is that they may be more sensitive to certain types of pain, and often require higher doses of pain-killing medications.
Hmm.
However, other studies suggest that their general pain tolerance may be higher. So the pain tolerance may be higher, but their need for pain medication has to be higher as well.
Really?
United Healthcare Insurance did a study and found that about 20% needed more anesthesia to be sedated. And many redheads may report being afraid of dentists because they need more topical pain medication than most other people, and dentists aren't always tuned into that.
Wow.
Now, McGill University in Canada found that redheadeds people can receive higher electric shocks than others can perceive.
Hmm.
And another university found redheadeds find hot and cold temperatures. They feel hot and cold temperatures more sensitively than others. So there's that fun fact.
Interesting.
I know.
Interesting. Wow. And I have a friend who's redheaded. I'm going to have to talk to that friend
Do talk to that friend.
and ask those kinds of questions
Right, right,
and
right.
see if they realize that or know that or knew that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh,
Huh.
let me know what you find out.
I will.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay.
What have you got now?
So physically, how do we
Mhm.
feel physically? Well, we can feel physically as you already suggested, with the heart, but we can feel with
Mhm.
our hands, with the touch,
Mm,
right? We
right.
can feel by touching things. We can feel tired. And
Mhm.
and I'm not sure how you feel tired, what that really feels like. I don't know if you can you explain to someone what it is to feel tired?
If you were to ask me, which I think you just did, when I feel tired, I feel a heaviness. I feel a lower oxygenation. And thus I yawn more. I feel my parts of my body feel heavier. My eyes want to
Hmm.
close.
Okay.
My breathing changes as I mentioned. So those are some of the sensations I think of first when
Yeah,
I talk about
because
feeling tired.
because I asked myself, I said, how would I describe tired to
Hmm.
someone? And
Hmm.
wow, you just articulated such a very, very eloquent expose there.
I think I feel tired a lot.
And I would have never thought that, but yeah, okay, yes, I like that.
Okay. Okay.
We can feel physically, we can feel rested, and
Ah.
rested is more. Okay, I'm gonna try and leap
Okay.
from where you took us.
Okay.
More oxygenated in our body. Our body is more awake and responsive and alert, and just refreshed. I'm not sure if those are the right things, but feeling rested. So that's physically touching, tired, rested. You were going to say
Yes.
something. I heard you take a deep
It's
breath.
it's so easy. You had when you were talking about your four categories, your first was emotion, and now you're talking physical, but so often there's an emotion attached to those physical responses. When I feel rested, I feel contented and happier. When I feel tired, I feel sometimes maybe a little bit grouchy. There are no
Okay.
witnesses here to prove that, but it's true.
And I remember on Christmas mornings or Christmas Eve evenings, um, although I was probably very, very tired, I was still bouncing off the walls because I couldn't wait to go to sleep to get up, but I didn't want to go to bed because I might miss Santa.
It's a dilemma.
So I felt, I felt conflicted.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so intuitively,
Yes.
and you talked about this early on, feeling out an audience, feeling out the room, and because I used to speak and I still speak to large groups, small groups,
Yes.
I still go in and I'm
Mm.
still nervous. Absolutely. I'm always nervous. I
Okay.
never feel prepared, but I try to get there. But walking in, I try to get the feel of the room.
Mhm.
And I know in surgery, I was a surgical technician,
Mhm.
you could walk into an operating room and you could feel the tension,
Mhm.
or you could feel the excitement and joy. And so you knew most of the time when you walked into an operating room
Mhm.
while the procedure was going on, how that procedure was going. Um, and again, they used to say, or they still say, you can cut that tension with a knife.
Yes.
I really felt that you could really cut the tension with a knife walking into some of those rooms because
Mhm.
very, very tight.
Mhm.
So intuitively, you understand where people might be.
Can I tell you my story about intuitive and kind
Absolutely.
of reading the room?
Yes.
This happened in college. People, be forewarned, are not always the most mature in college, but I walked into the dining hall and something was off. Something was different. And so I started looking around and I noticed that instead of people coming and going, people were staying. And instead of eating, sometimes they were just looking around and their food was in front of them. And I was able to realize I wasn't cutting the tension with a knife, but I was able, therefore, to duck in time before the food fight started.
Mm.
It was a spontaneous food fight. I don't know how everybody started, putting two and two together, but I have seen, and it's a beautiful sight to see Jello flying
Uh-oh.
through the air and coming apart slowly. It does it so slowly, not fast. It's lovely to see, and we were under the table because
Okay.
my gut instinct said something was wrong.
Oh, your gut instinct.
Yeah, my
Yes. Something was wrong.
intuition. Yes.
It, yes. And so you just suggested my last point here. I said
Ooh.
some individuals get the feeling that something is wrong
Mhm.
or that something great is about to happen.
Ooh. Okay.
And yes, remember the TV series MASH
Yes, I do.
with the hospital, the traveling hospital or the tent
Right.
city hospital.
Right.
Anyway, radar. Remember
I
radar?
do.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Radar could tell when something was going to happen, and that's why they called him radar,
Mhm. Mhm.
because he could either hear it or feel it or sense it that something was about to happen. And I remember those a lot. So when you walked into that cafeteria, your radar was up.
It was. It was.
You said something's going to happen. Okay. So health wise,
Mhm.
we feel aches, we feel pains, we feel sick, we feel weak, we feel ready.
We feel
As
old. We feel young.
yes, and I don't know how to feel old yet.
I can tell you, Fred and I are at the age where it helps to groan when we stand up and sit down,
Oh, really?
or grunt, either one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So is that like the karate key that you have to feel that so you get when you're pushing so the groan helps you stand up
It
or
does. Yes. Yes.
okay,
That
good.
must be karate.
Okay. Now, we also have things that can help us feel, don't we?
Yes.
We have pets, we have
Oh.
computers, we have joystick. Have you ever played a game with a joystick And I don't know why they call it a joystick. It doesn't give me joy because I see a lot of people, they've got their tongues hanging out and they're pushing this stick real hard.
That's with related to computer games, and nope, I never did do that.
You never did do that? Okay.
No, sorry.
It's like those two words that I heard the other day, and I used to hear a lot. And I think that those two words should never be side by side in any format, and that's fun run. I don't feel running is fun.
Some people do, though. Some people, they get into a joyful state when they're running.
Yes.
So I hear.
I have looked for those endorphins. I have asked people who have passed me by if they've seen any.
Let me tell you, though, while I have never experienced that endorphin rush, I have ridden a bicycle ride up a steep hill, and at the top of the hill, just before the crest, there were people standing, "You can do it. Come on, you can do it." And I felt excitement in that moment from them. So you can give feelings to people or induce feelings in other people by your enthusiasm.
And this was intuitive. I just had a thought and said, I better look at the time. It's 26 on the dot.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm glad your guts feelings are working. Wow. Yes. I haven't even talked about highly sensitive people, and I'm only saying that out loud. So if you're interested in that about that more, you can look it up.
Okay. So what's the answer to your question? I said Japan.
Okay, to repeat the question, in which country do people feel the safest walking down their streets of their neighborhood at night? The answer is Iceland.
Iceland.
Yes.
It's too cold. Nobody's there.
No, I think it has to do with the fact that most everybody knows everybody else. The country has a total population of about 340,000 people.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right.
14th year in a row.
Aha. And my answer to the question, is a smile contagious? Here's the answer. It isn't just smiles that are contagious. Frowns can be as well. We can't help it. As all humans, we often like to show our solidarity with another person and what they're going through by mirroring their facial expressions. Okay. So according to a scientific paper published in Trends in Cognitive Sciences, all of our facial expressions are contagious. How about that?
Interesting.
And it is 27:15, Sheila.
Well, thank you, Wayne, for touching about feelings. You had much more information than you thought, talking about emotional, physical, health-wise, and the other word that I wrote down that I can't read right now.
Intuitive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to us. It's been a fast morning, and we just appreciate you being here.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for listening. And we have a special guest for next week. Steve Smith is coming.
Yay, Steve.
Yay, Steve. Thank you very much, Sheila. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.